Robert Browning said, "A man's reach should exceed his grasp." In other words, set outlandish goals for yourself. It's great advice, but it doesn't always work. Ask Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. He reached beyond his grasp. He wanted to lead the Islamic world, and to be fair, he tried hard. Erdogan took on Saudi Arabia over the Khashoggi murder. He cut off ties with the Gulf. He created a rival alliance of countries like Pakistan and Malaysia. But in the end, he failed. And today he's waving the white flag of surrender. Erdogan is on a 2-day visit to Saudi Arabia, sort of like a reconciliation tour. And this is what his schedule looks like. 2 big engagements today. Dinner with King Salman and a bilateral meeting with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Overnight, he will travel to Mecca, and on Friday, he will perform the Umrah. It's a make-or-break visit for President Erdogan of Turkey. If he can bury the hatchet with Saudi Arabia, it will have a knock-on effect. The Gulf will follow. Egypt could follow. It could end Turkey's isolation in West Asia. But 2 questions still remain. A, why did Erdogan abandon his Islamist dream? And B, why now? Let's deal with the first question first. Why did Erdogan give up his mission? Short answer, he underestimated Saudi Arabia. Starting 2020, Riyadh imposed an unofficial blockade on Turkish goods. Their exports were held at customs. Their contracts were terminated, and soon Turkey felt the hit. In 2019, their exports to Saudi Arabia were $3.2 billion. In 2021, just $200 million. Look at the drop. This gradually drained the Turkish treasury. And the worst part, nobody came to Turkey's help. All Gulf nations sided with Saudi Arabia. Only Qatar was willing to send help. What about Turkey's Western allies? The same story. Erdogan decided to buy missile systems from Russia. So instead of help, he got sanctions. But the defining blow came in January last year when Joe Biden moved into the White House. Unlike Trump, Biden is not a fan of Erdogan. During the campaign, he openly called for regime change in Turkey. So put together, Erdogan was isolated. His neighbors were against him. His allies had abandoned him. Cut to size, as they say. This isolation is taking a toll on Turkey's economy. Their unemployment is 12%. Inflation, 60%. Their currency, the lira, dropped 44% in 2021. What's worse, there is an election next year. If Erdogan cannot fix the economy, his chances are not great. So that is his top agenda in Riyadh. Political reconciliation would be great. But what he needs is Gulf money. Reports are hinting at a $10 to $20 billion currency swap deal. That answers the first question. Erdogan abandoned his Islamist dream because he ran out of money. Question number 2, why now? One reason is the election next year. Erdogan has very little time to turn the economy around. But what about Saudi Arabia? Why did they agree to this visit now? Because Erdogan has dropped the Khashoggi case. That was Saudi Arabia's biggest demand. Turkey was trying 26 Saudis in absentia for Khashoggi's murder. Erdogan, remember, was promising complete justice at one point. But this month he made a U-turn. Turkish prosecutors dropped the case. They asked the trial to be shifted to Saudi Arabia, and we all know how that ends. Erdogan basically gave up. All that outrage against MBS, all those promises to deliver justice. And in the end, President Erdogan chose political convenience. And by the way, it's not just Saudi Arabia. Erdogan is reaching out to everyone. Last month, he hosted the Israeli president. Before that, he visited the UAE. It was his first trip to Dubai in a decade. In both cases, Erdogan's objective was money. In the UAE, the leaders obliged. They signed a $5 billion currency swap with Turkey. They also promised to set up a $10 billion investment fund. In simple words, what you're looking at is a failed foreign policy. Starting with the Arab Spring, Erdogan played a dangerous game. He challenged the status quo in West Asia, and the status quo hit back. So what does he do now? From the looks of it, revert to Turkey's policy of the 2000s. It was called the zero problem strategy. Basically, have zero problems with your neighbors. It was articulated by Erdogan's ally turned rival, Ahmet Davutoglu. Right now, Erdogan is doing exactly that. He's reaching out to the Gulf. He's talking to Israel. He's holding normalization talks with Egypt. He's even negotiating with Armenia. Last week, he sent a letter to the patriarch of Turkey's Armenian community. Let me tell you what he wrote. This is President Erdogan saying, I commemorate the Ottoman Armenians we lost in the war. Let's build the future instead of magnifying the suffering. For a hardliner, that's quite a climb down. In fact, all of this, all of what I just told you, is a climb down. Erdogan's real ambition is to lead the Islamic world. Well, that has not changed. What's changed is his ability to bankroll that dream. Tells you what kind of a politician he is. It was never about religion. It was never about justice. Erdogan's only goal is power. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.